Okay guys, from the last video we talked about the task delete view, and this is where we are now. When you click on view, it takes you to the detail view. When you click on add, it takes you to the create view, and from here you can add a new task. For example, let's say something like get house, and let's get a spelling of that, and you can add whatever you want to add in here. So I'm just going to add anything, and you can check this as completed and save task. So when you save task, it brings you back to this place, and as you can see, what we have here is get house and not get house. So when you click on update, you can actually come over here and update this to get house, and click on save, and as you can see, it gets updated over here. So this is all we have done. We have done the detail view, the create view, the update view, the delete view, and the list view. So now we want to go ahead and start talking about the login and logout with the registration page. So like basically we want to go ahead and start working with the authentication page. So let's start doing that now. So to check if a user is logged in, firstly let's come over to our task on desk list, and just above all this we want to go ahead and request for a user. So let's go ahead and do that. Firstly, you want to open up a p tag like this, then we want to open up double curly brackets. Did I just say doily? And you want to open up double curly brackets like this. Then in it you want to request for the user. So we want to request for the active user that's currently logged into the admin. You know, right now we are not yet having any login authentication page, so we'll be working from the admin. So whatever user that's logged into the admin, that's actually what we'll be using here. So for now, request host user. When we come over here and refresh, okay, before that let's just add a horizontal line over here so we actually know what we're doing. So we come over here and refresh, and as you can see, it's Destiny that's currently logged in. So when we come over here and log out, so let's go ahead and log out. You come over here and refresh. Now what do you notice? It's anonymous user. So let's say we want to come over here and create a new user. Let's create a new user, and hopefully you would understand what's going on. So I want to come over to users, and I want to come over to add users, and let's say I want to add like Henry or something like that, and add a password testing321. add another, so let me just get the password correctly, then add the confirm password testing321, and when you click on save, so let's come over here now and try logging in with that. Okay, as you can see, Henry is logged in over here. Okay, I don't think Henry is logged in because he doesn't have the super user and all that. So but let's just come over here and refresh, and as you can see, it shows Destiny. If we log out and try logging in with Henry, okay, I don't think Henry can log in because he is not a super user, but let's go ahead and assign him as a super user and see what's gonna happen if he tries logging in. So one, assign him as a super user and click on save. Now let's go ahead and log out, and want to log in again, but this time around we are logging in with Henry. Let me just go ahead and change this to Henry. So when you click on login, okay, it says enter the correct, okay, there is no password over here. Let's enter testing321 for Henry. So mention testing321 and click on login. Okay, I think that wasn't correct. Let's go ahead and get the correct password for that. Okay, I don't know, for some reasons it's not just logging in. Okay, oh, he's not assigned as a staff yet, that's why. So I want to go ahead and assign him as a staff, then we can go and try logging in with Henry again. So Henry, I'm going to come over here and assign it as a staff, just like that. And when you click on save, let's log out again, come over to login, and this time around we want to log in with Henry. So we log in with Henry, password is testing321, you click on login, and as you can see, Henry is logged in now. So when you come over here and refresh, what do you notice? Henry is now logged in. So with this command request.user, you actually request for the existing logged in user. So now I want to go ahead and check for something, so just pay a close attention to what I'm about to say. Now if a user is logged in, you want to go ahead and show them this plus a logout button. But if a user is not logged in, you want to just go ahead and show them a login link. For example, let's come over here and work. So as you can see, Henry is logged in. What do you notice? We get a logout button over here, and that's because Henry is logged in. So if you go ahead and log out Henry, what do you get? You get a login button. So right now he's not logged in, that's why we are saying this. Now when we log in, you don't see that anymore, you see a logout button. So that's what we want to do over here. Let's go ahead and implement that. So just above all these files, just here, You want to go ahead and open up double curly brackets. So we want to open up a tag, and in it we're going to say if request dot user dot is authenticated. So just follow along with what I'm doing. So we want to check if the user is authenticated, and user being authenticated means that they are logged in. So that's pretty much what it means over here. So if the user is authenticated, then we want to go ahead and show their username, and again we want to show a link that's gonna say log out. So let's go ahead and add this link. For now it's not going anywhere, but over here we're just gonna say log out. Now how about they are not authenticated? And in that case we have to use the else statement. So we're going to open up this and say else. So if they are not authenticated, what do we want to show them? So we want to show them a login link, just like what I explained to you from the database. So we want to show them a login link, and over here we could just say log in at this place. For now it's not going anywhere, we could just stick with all this. And finally we want to go ahead and end the if statement. So we're going to say end if, just like this. Now when you come over here and refresh, as you can see we have the destiny and the logout link. But how about I come over here and click on logout? If you come over here and refresh, what do you get? You get the login link. So you understand what I'm trying to say now. We come over here, you log in. Now when you refresh, you get, okay, it's not logged in yet, let's log in. When you come over here and refresh, you get destiny and logout. Right now the logout button isn't working, but when you come over here and log out, come over here, refresh, as you can see we get the login link. So that's pretty much what I want to do here. Everything is working pretty fine. Now we want to go ahead and actually make this login button over here active, like want to make it functional. So in order to do that, you want to come over to your views.py. So you want to open up your views.py, and there is a view that's called login view. So this will just help us activate everything that has to do with our login in view. And take note, the login view is going to be different from the view that's going to help us log out and all that. So, and it's also going to be different from the view that's going to help us create a new user. So for now, let's go ahead and import the login view. So we're going to say from Django.contrib. So from Django.contrib.auth.views, we want to import the login. Okay, I don't know why it's not yet showing that. Okay, we want to import the login view. I want to go ahead and type out this again. I think I might have an issue somewhere or something. So I want to say from Django.contrib, just like that, .auth.views. We want to import the login view. Okay, and as you can see, it's suggested that's now, so it's working perfectly well. Now down here I want to create a class. So this class is going to be like for the login view. You can name this whatever, login view. Okay, let's just attach something to the back. Okay, let's just say something like custom login view or our login view, whatever. Let's just say custom login view. Then over here it's gonna inherit from login view, or whatever you want to call it, the parameter that's going in there, it's gonna be login view. Now the first thing we need is a template name. So the template name is gonna be in the to do app / login.html, just like that. Let's see, yes, login.html. And the next thing we're gonna need is fields. So you remember the way we talked about fields, like what's field we need, what like the particular fields that we want to use for our forms. For example, you want to use the all field, you do something like this, __ all, __ or dunder, whatever you want to call them. So that's what I want to do. But if you want to use some certain fields, you open up a list and call the name of the particular field that you want to use in there. But for now I want to use other fields, so I'm just going to open up double strings like that, and double quotation mark, whatever you want to call them. And in here I'm going to pass in all like this in double underscore, just like that. Now the last thing I want to say is redirect authenticated user. So when a user is authenticated, you want to redirect them. For now, let's just stick with false. And the next thing I want to do is go ahead and redirect the user to somewhere. So let me explain what redirecting the user to somewhere actually means. When you come over to your logged out and we log in, so we log in, just take a close look at what's going to happen. So when we log in, where does it bring us? it's bringing us to this place over here. So that's exactly what we want to do. When we log in, we want to bring ourselves, or whatever we call ourselves, to this place over here. So let's go ahead and start doing that. So redirect to authenticated user, it's false for now, and we want to go ahead and define a get success URL. So get success URL is what's gonna help us redirect ourselves to wherever we're going. But in this case, we won't be working with redirect, to actually be working with reverse lazy. So let's go ahead and import it. Okay, and as you can see, we imported it over here. So I think we've worked with it in the last video. So it's over here from Django.urls, you import reverse lazy. And over here now, what we want to do is go ahead and return reverse lazy. So we return reverse lazy, and where do we want to reverse ourselves to? So we want to reverse ourselves to task, and let's see if that's actually what we use in our URL pattern. As you can see, this is it over here. So in your views.py, this is gonna be task, just like that. Now that's pretty much all we need for the views. The next thing we want to do is go to the urls.py and make a URL for it. For now, we do not have any URL, so let's come down here. It's going to look identical with this one. You want to make sure that you are importing the custom login view, just like that, and you want to change this to login. You want to change this to login / you want to change this to custom login view, and you want to change this one over here to login, just like this. So right now, if the user come over to /login, so if the user come over to /login, as you can see, it's working perfectly fine, but we are getting a template does not exist error. So it's expecting a template with the name login_html. Let's go ahead and create that. In the to do, you want to right click, come over to new file, come over to HTML file, and this is going to be login.html. Let's get rid of everything in there. So in here, the first thing I want to do is go ahead and say define the h1 tag, and let's just call this login and see if it's working. So as you can see, everything is working really fine. Now the next thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and open up a form tag like that, and I'm going to pass a method of post. And you remember the Django CSRF token that helps us protect cross-site forgery and all that. CSRF_token, make sure you are adding it. And I think I didn't get the spelling correct, and now it's okay. So the next thing you want to do is go ahead and call the form variable. So you call this, when you come over here and refresh, as you can see, we have username and password, just like what we have in here, just like that. So we want to make this stuff go to separate lines, and how do we do that? It's gonna be form.as_p, just like that. Now when you refresh, as you can see, we have username, password on different occasions, but you have a username, you have a password. Now there is no button to log in. How do we do that? We need to come over here and define an input. So this input type is going to be submit, and the value is going to be login now or something like that. So with all this, when you click on login now, what do you notice? It successfully logs us in. Now let's say we want to try logging in with some, like, a user that doesn't exist. When you click on login, it says please enter a correct username and password. So it's exactly throws in the same error that this one over here throws in. And that's one good thing about Django. They help you build out a whole lot of things that should make your life easy compared to other frameworks, or let's say other programming languages in general. So with this now, everything is working really fine and amazing. Now let's try logging in with the correct details, and as you can see, we logged in successfully. So I don't know what's wrong with this one over here. Let's just go back to the login page. Okay, and as you can see, it's logged in. And we can also come over here. Let's log out. Okay, the logout isn't working right yet. Let's log out from here, and let's try logging in with Henry and see what happens. Okay, the login link isn't working yet, so we're just gonna go to login manually, and we're gonna change this to Henry. So when we log in now, what do you notice? Henry is logged in and his name shows over there. So the next thing we want to do is go ahead and make the logout URL. But before that, I want to make my links active. And in order to make my links active, I want to come over to task_list, and this is the login link. So I'm just going to open up a tag just like this, and I'll pass a URL, and the name for that in the URL's pattern is login, just like that. So when you come over here now and log out, let's refresh this. Okay, it's logged out now. Let's see. So when we come over here now, we log out, we come over here and refresh. So when you click on this button, it brings you here. You log in, it brings you to the task list. So the next thing we want to do is make our logout function. So in order to make the logout function, use the logout view. And take note, we don't do this in the views.py, we do this in the urls.py. So over here, you want to import the logout view. And how do we do that? But for now, we want to still stick with, okay, before we go ahead and start working with the logout view, there's something we want to do right now. If a user comes to this place, and let's say the user isn't logged in. Okay, let's say we are logged out now. Let's log in again. Let's log out. So right now, as you can see, this is logged out. If a user is logged out, for example, see we are logged out over here, we don't want to access the task detail or something like that. So as you can see, it brings us to the next login page. But here in our own app, if you say /task create, what do you notice? It still brings us to this place and no user is logged in. So when you click on whatever and try putting in a task, it's actually save out the task for you and no user is logged in. So we want to make sure that we are restricting that. So but before that, I want to just go ahead now and make our logouts view. Just wanted to explain what we're going to do after we have done the logout view over here. So in your urls.py, you want to say from django.contrib.auth.views import logout view. So let's go ahead and do that. So from django.contrib, I think it's contrib.auth.views, and I hope I'm getting this, import logout view. Okay, that's it, logout view. So it's just gonna stay just below this one, and it's gonna have a part, and this part is gonna be called, sorry for that, this part is gonna be called logout, just like that. And it's also gonna have that logout view, so let's just call it logout view.as_view, and there's going to be a parenthesis, and finally it's going to have a name that we will use to route the buttons as logout. So it's going to have a pattern name of logout. So with all this now, I think we should be pretty much done with the logout. All we have to do is go over to the task list. So let's come over to the task list and make sure that we make this logout button work. So you have to open up this, or we could just go ahead and copy this one over here. So let's just copy this, copy and paste, and over here we're going to change this to log out. So when we come over here now and refresh, we log in, it logs us in, we try logging out, it successfully logs us out. But what do you notice? It logs us out and it brings us to the admin page, and that's because it doesn't have a place to go after it logs us out. So the next place that it could just go is this admin logout page. But that's not what we want. We want it to like go to our own way when we log in. So when you log out, you want it to bring you back to the login page. So we want it to go to like the home place that we're going to define when we log out. But right now, if it logs out, it comes to the admin page. But how do we do that? All you have to do is go over to your settings.py. So let's go over to settings.py. You want to open it up and let's see, come over to, where is it, settings.py, and firstly we want to define a login URL. But there's something I want to do. Before we do this, we want to go ahead and restrict users from accessing our pages when they are not logged in. So before we do this, let's go ahead and restrict users from accessing our pages when they are not logged in. So how do we do that? We have to go over to our views.py, and we need to import a view. I don't know if it's a view, sorry, it's not a view, it's a mixin. Yeah, but it's a mixin. So we need to import a mixin that's called login required. And how do you do that? You say from django.contrib.auth. So from django.contrib.auth.mixins, just like this, we want to import the login required mixin. So all you have to do is copy this, and for example, let's say that we don't want let's come over here. As you can see, this user isn't logged in. Let's say we don't want a logged in user to access this page. We don't want we don't want a user that's logged out to access this page. All we have to do is come over here and copy this login required mixin, and we're gonna add it here before the actual list view itself. So when you come over here now and refresh, what do you notice? It's trying to take us somewhere else. As you can see, it says account slash login slash next. So where should it go to next after it's not bringing us to the home page any longer? So all we have to do now is come over to settings.py, and we need to define the login URL. So we're going to say login underscore URL, and this is going to be set to login, just like that. So what this is going to do is, when we don't allow them to access any page unless they are logged in, where do you want them to go? We want them to come to the login page. So if you set this to task, so whenever you restrict a user, so you see this user is not okay, this is not like a right thing to do. It's gonna be login. So let's just stick with login for now, and let's see, everything should work fine now. Okay, everything is working fine. So let me get rid of this, and as you can see, we went to the home page, but it brought us back to the login page, and that's because we are not logged in. Now when we log in, it will bring us to the home page, and hopefully you understand. And let's log out again, and we logged out again. Let's come over here and refresh this. So refresh this. As you can see, it brings us here, and let's say we want to go over to the task create. So we come over task create. What do you notice? It's still bringing us here, and we don't want that, and that's because we haven't added the login required to the task create view. So all you have to do is copy this over here, copy this, and we want to add them to every other places that we do not want them to access. So we add them to almost all the classes. Add it over here. We don't want them to create any tasks if they are not logged in. We don't want them to update any tasks if they're logged in, and finally we don't want them to delete any task if they are not logged in. So right now, if you come over here and refresh, what do you notice? It brings us back here, and let's say you want to come over to task update. What do you notice? It brings us here again. So this is working perfectly fine as expected. Now we want to make each user access their own data, and this will be done using a method called get context data. So let me explain what I want to do over here. Now we're logged in as Destiny, and what do you notice? Destiny has this items that says rake leaves, get flowers, and get house. But how about I want to log in as Henry? What would you notice now? So let's say we want to log in as Henry, and this is not the form we are supposed to use. Let's come over here again. Okay, it brings us here. Now we want to log in as Henry. So when you click on login now, what do you notice? It's logged in as Henry, but we are still getting the same item that Destiny has. So this is a very big error. We want each users to get their own item. Now, how do we do this? We need to come over to the task list. So this is it over here. So we need to come over here, and below the task list here, we just want to define a get underscore context data, and it's gonna take in some few arguments. It's gonna take in self, it's gonna take in quags, keyword ags. If you don't know what that is, I'll still explain it in this video, but just pass in keyword ags for now. Now the next thing that we're gonna have is context. So context is gonna be equal to super dot, just follow along with what I'm doing. So context is gonna be equal to super dot get underscore context data. So in here now, I want to pass in quacks again. So I'm just going to pass in keyword ags. So you're going to pass in double star like this, asterisk, then we're going to pass in quacks just like that. Okay, with all this done, the next thing I'm going to do is come over here, and I'm going to define another context variable, but this time around it's not going to be context. It's not going to be a context variable. I want to attach tasks to it. So attach task. And what is task? If you take a close look, task is what we have over here. Okay, I think it's not even task, it's task, just like this, but let's go ahead and stick with task like that. Now the next thing I want to do is set this to another context like this, and I'm going to pass in task over here dot filter. So this time around I'm going to filter, and I want to filter user. So just follow along with what I'm doing. This time around, I want to filter and open up parentheses. Sorry, I'm going to open up a parenthesis at the front of the filter. So I'm going to open up parentheses at the front of the filter. Then I'm going to pass in user is equal to self dot request dot user. Okay, so what I'm doing here now is I want to filter the task for each particular user, and this is where I'm requesting for each particular user. So when I get the task for a user, I want to filter it by the particular user itself. So that's why, as you can see, I called self.request user. So that's exactly what this is gonna do. And finally, I want to count tasks too, so we can use this for ID or something like that. Okay, what we're going to use this to do is to check for complete and incomplete task. So how do we do this? We just come over here and define a count thing like that, and the next thing we want to say is passing context. So we want to count what? We want to count the task. So yeah, we want to count task. Now the next thing we're going to do is filter this by current user. So we're going to filter, and you remember how we did this? We're going to filter complete this time around. So we're going to filter complete. Okay, just like that. I want to make sure I'm getting the spelling. So we're going to filter complete false dot count. So I'll explain what this is doing. Dot counts just like this. Then finally we can just go ahead and return context. So what this last one is doing is it's gonna check for the task that are not complete. So that's why complete is set to false, and it's gonna count them. So when I call this count over here, it's gonna give us the incomplete task. That's exactly what's gonna do. So we want a data to be added automatically to the logged in user. For example, when you come over here and you click on add, we don't want to get either Destiny or Henry. But before we do this, let's go ahead and test out what we did over here. So we want to test out what we did over there. So we want to test out all this that we did over here. That's going to help us add different data to different users. That's going to restrict them from accessing each user's data. So let's come over here now and refresh. And what do you notice? Henry has no item in the list, and as you can see, everything is working totally fine. So when you click on this add new item, it's not yet working. Let's come over to task list, and it's going to be down here. So let's just copy this add. Let's just copy this one. This is it over here, this URL. So we're just going to copy this and we're going to paste them in here. So when you come over here now and click on add new item, and let's say I want to add a new item for Henry. So we're going to say get new mob sticks, whatever. And we're going to say mop the kitchen today. And finally, we're going to save task. So what do you notice? Henry doesn't actually have this task saved to him. Let's refresh and see. Let's see what's going on. Okay, this is going on because we have actually set something here that's going to help us check for each user's task. And right now there is something that we are not doing. We are not passing the user that's gonna have this, since we have two users. So it doesn't know the user to assign this to. Right now we want to use the Henry user. That's why we choose Henry, and we're gonna say get mop sticks. Yeah, and we're gonna say mop the kitchen today. And when you click on save task, what do you notice? Now you get mob sticks today, but they are still using the same database. It doesn't necessarily mean, but each user has their own items now. So when we log out and log into Destiny, okay, it's bringing us in here again. So as you can see, we are logged into Destiny, and what do you notice? We still get only rake leaves. So it's working totally fine. Now the next thing I want to go ahead and do is add data automatically to users. For example, when you click on add, you see it gives us the option to select each user. For example, let's say our application has like 500,000 users. Now when you click on this drop down, you don't want to keep looking for your name before you add to yourself, and you don't want to help another user add a task to their list and all that. So we want this form over here to be gone, and we want it to know that it's automatically gonna add a list to the logged in user, to the current logged in user. Now how do we do that? So below task underscore create, this is gonna work in task underscore create, obviously. So below task underscore create, and let's look for it. This is it over here, and below the success URL, you want to define a form underscore valid. So this is going to be form underscore valid. It's going to take in self and form as a parameter. Now we want to say form dot instance. So Okay, let me just go ahead and do this and I'll explain what it does. So form.instance.user is equal to self.request.user. So I'll explain what all of this does. And finally, we want to return super. So we're going to return super, and this super is going to take in task create, it's going to take in self, then it's going to take in form underscore valid, and take note it's not invalid, and finally it's going to take in form, just like that. So with all this now, I still want to go ahead and I'm not going to use this all field over here again. I'm not going to use it, and that's because right now I just need three okay, I just need three forms over here. That's three forms. I don't need this one any longer. But you come over here now, refresh, you see we have title, and that's because we have a little title in here. I also need the description field, so I'm gonna choose the description field, and finally I'm gonna choose there is one other field, if you can remember that. Okay, there is complete field. So with all this now, let's refresh, and as you can see, we have title, we have description, we have complete, and save task. So with this now, when we click on milk today or whatever, and we add some list in here, and we click on save task, what do you notice? It didn't add anything over here, right? Yes, it didn't add anything over here. And why did that happen? So let's go over to Henry and see what actually happened. So we come over here, and let's say we want to log in as Henry, and click on login now. So what do you notice? It didn't add anything to Henry too. So that's because it doesn't know the right user yet to use. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. It doesn't know the right user that's gonna be working yet. So next thing we want to do is come over to our views.py, and let's make sure that everything here is looking good, because we definitely have an error that's making this not get added. And let's try debug this. Okay, I can see that already. This is supposed to be form valid and not invalid. So let's come over here and refresh again, and let's try adding a new task. So let's say like get milk or some. So we say get milk, and we want to say something like get milk today. And finally, we're gonna click on save task. So what do you notice? It gets added successfully, and we are still gonna get rid of all these IDs over here. I'm just using them for some reference purposes. So as you can see, it says get milk, and let's say we want to update this to get milk and towel. So when you click on save, as you can see, it says get milk and towel. So when I log out, and okay, we're still gonna fix this that keeps bringing us to this place. So when we log out and try logging into Destiny, what do you notice? He has only rake leaves, and that's what he has. So we want to go ahead and fix the stuff that when we log out, it keeps bringing us here. Let's go ahead and do that now. And how do we do that? So we need to come over to our urls.py, and in this place that says log out, we want to define a next underscore page for it. So next underscore page, and where do we want to set this to? So next underscore page, we want to set it to login. So when we log out, where do we want to go next? We want to go to login. So now let's come over here and let's try logging in. So it's logged in. Well, how about when we log out? It brings us here, so it's not taking us to the admin page any longer. So all you have to do is set this from your urls.py, define the next underscore page, and set it to login. You can send it to whatever you want, but I think the main thing you should set it to is login. So right now we want to go ahead and start working with the register page, but before that, you see we logged in over here, and you take note when we want to add, it doesn't give us the option to choose a user again. How about we want to update? You see it still gives us that option. So we want to go over to our task update, and we want to change that to all. So come over to your, where is it? It should be in views.py task update. We just want to copy this over here, and we're going to get rid of this all and just paste it like that. So when we come over here now and refresh, as you can see, it's gone. So when we say rake leaves updated to and click on save task, it automatically knows that this is for Destiny, and everything is working totally fine. Now we want to go ahead and start working with the register page. So the register page shouldn't be that hard. Yeah, maybe it shouldn't be that hard. Let's go ahead and start working with it. Okay, Okay, creating the register page, we need to go over to the login.html and we want to say something. So we come over to login.html. We all know in a basic login page for any website, you get something that says like, do you have an account or something like that. So we want to open up a p tag, and in this p tag we want to say, do you don't have an account or something like let's just say don't have an account yet here. So don't have an account yet, don't have an account yet, just like that. And there's going to be a question mark. So after this, we want to pass in a tag in there, and this a tag is going to redirect to the register page. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying. So register page, I hope I spelled that register correct. So as you can see, it says don't have an account yet, register. So when you click on this, it's supposed to take you to the register page, and I think the spelling is not correct. Register, just like that. Okay, as you can see, it's correct now. So we want when you're on the login page to show you this, and we want when you're on the register page to show you for the login itself. So let's go ahead and try configuring the register page so it actually works. Okay, the next thing we want to do is we could just pass in the URL now. So when we're going to work with it, we don't have to come over here and do it, since we know that we're going to use the pattern name in your URL, just py as register. So we're just going to say register, just like that. Now the next thing we want to do is create a new register.html. So come over here, come over to new, come over to register HTML, and we're going to create a new register.html. Let's get rid of everything here, and we want to copy everything that's in the login and paste it, because there's no like a regular way of doing this. Whatever, just copy and paste. And we want to change this to have an account already. Do you have an account already? Or something like have an account already. You could just add of whatever you want. Try being creative. So we're gonna say have an account already, and this is gonna be login, and this one over here is gonna be login now. So just like that. So this, let's just change this one to register account, or register new account. Register new account here. So okay, it says no reverse match found. We're still going to work with this in our urls.py. So as you can see, we have our register page now, not looking bad. We want to change this one over here to register, and it's supposed to be an uppercase R, just to make things look cleaner. So with all this now in the urls.py, we need to define a URL for the register page. So I just duplicated the login page, sorry, the logout page, and I'm going to change this to register, and this should have a register view. So let me talk to you guys about that. In the views.py, we actually need to import three things that we're going to be using. So we need to import three things that we're going to be using to work with the register page. The first one is going to be the form view that we're going to get from generic.edit. The second is going to be the user creation, and that's actually what's going to help us with the form itself and the authentication and all that. And finally, we're going to import login. So let's go ahead and do this, and maybe when we are done, you will understand what all this we're actually used for. So just below this one over here, we still want to make sure that everything is on the same part. So we want to import form view, and how do you do that? You say from Django.contrib. Just follow along with what I'm doing. Sorry. Okay, firstly, let's import the form view, and that's from Django.views.generic.edit. So from Django.views.generic.edit, we want to import form view, just like that. Now the next thing we want to import is user creation, and that's going to be from contrib.auth.forms. I don't think it's views, it should be forms. Yeah, let's just stick with forms, and sorry, not unequal to, so it's gonna be import user creation form. Okay, I don't think it's form, it should be forms. Yeah, forms. So import user creation form. Okay, and so see that's it. And finally, we want to import login. So we're gonna say from Django.contrib.auth import login. And I think that's not it, because it should like suggest this for us. So from Django.contrib.auth import login, just like that. And it's not actually getting it, and I don't know what's wrong. Let's see what error is throwing. So it says cannot reference login in init.py. I think we should be doing something wrong. Something is actually not looking good over here. Okay, let's go ahead and start working. So just below the login view, let's look for the login view, and I think it should be somewhere here. So just below the login view, we want to create a new view, and this is going to be the register page. So class should have register page, and this is going to inherit from the form view that we imported earlier. So there's going to be a column over there. Now the first thing we need is to define the template name. So this template name is going to be looking for it. So Django is going to be looking for it in to do, and it's going to be register.html. Now the next thing we want to do is passing a form class. So you remember the way we used fields when we want to work with our models. So now we don't want to models want to work with another external form, so we're going to use user creation form. And finally, we want to redirect authenticated users, so we're going to say redirect authenticated users. And this is not popping up because we do not have login installed yet. So let me just go ahead and look that up and see if that's what we actually have. Guys, that was actually the right thing. So it's from django.contrib.auth import login, but take note it's not a uppercase L, it's a lowercase L, just like that. So down here we want to say redirect authenticated users. Okay guys, so we have to use redirect authenticated user, and that's going to be set equal to true. Now the last thing we want to use is a success URL, so a success underscore URL, and this is going to be set to reverse lazy, and we want to redirect them to task, just like this. So we are redirecting back to task. Now in the urls.py, we want to create a new register, and if you have done it already, not bad, we already did that. But there is something I want to do. I want to go ahead and get rid of this. I don't want when the register, it should take them back to the login page. So with this now, let's say we want to come over to our website, and we'll come over here and refresh. So we're still getting this register not found as a pattern name. So we want to come over here and change this to register. So change this to register, and now we refresh, everything should work fine. So when we log in, or let's say you want to register in your account, so when we come over to /register, and it's not bringing us to anywhere, that's because we're going to /register. Now what we want to do is get rid of this over here. So we want to get rid of this in here, and we want to make sure that we are using the register class that we used in the views.py. So we import it, and over here we are using register. So you remember what was in here, next underscore page. Let's say it's still in there. What's gonna happen is when we register, it's gonna still take us back to the login page, and that's not what we want. So with this, when we come over here and I'll refresh, everything should be working fine. When you click on register new account, it brings you here, and from here now we can register a new account. Let's say we want to register someone, and let's say the person's name is going to be Tom whatever, and password testing321, and the password confirmation should be testing321. So when we click on, it's not supposed to be login now, it's supposed to be register now. So come over to register page, and let's change this to register. And let's change this to register now, and when we refresh this, yeah, it should be working fine. So this should be Tom, this should be testing321, this should be testing321. So when we click on register now, what do you notice? It creates the user for us, and it brings us back to the login page. So let's try logging in with Tom, and what do you notice? It says please enter correct username and password for both field, and let's enter testing321 and click on login. Okay, Tom is not a login in, and that might be because he is not creating a database. So let's go over to database and see if we have any new user in here. So we come over to over here and log in. Okay, we are getting this error. Let's get rid of all this. Let's log in again. Okay, and come over to users. What do you notice? It's just Destiny and Henry. So the login page is not working for now. So we want to go ahead and make the login page active. Let's come over to /register. So come over to /register. So we want to make this page active. And how do we do that? So what's making this user not get saved is because we do not have a form.save method. Now let's go ahead and do that in our views.py over here. Below the register page, we want to go ahead and define a form underscore valid. So we want to define form underscore valid. It's going to take in self and form just like that. Now we want to define a variable user.form, and simply we're just going to save the form. So whatever we pass into this form over here, we want to save it. So that's why we are using this form underscore save, form.save. Now we want to still check if user is none. So if user is not, sorry, I said none, it's supposed to be if user is not none. So that is in other words saying if we have a user. So if we have a user, what do we want to do? We want to go ahead and log in. So we're going to use the login that we imported, and this is going to take self.request not dot, and then we're going to pass in user over here just like that. And finally we want to return super. So let's just come over here and we're going to return super just like this, and the super is going to take in the register page, and it's also going to take in self. I think here it's going to take in self, then dot form underscore valid, and this form underscore valid is going to take in what form in it. So let's just pass in form. So with all this, now let's come over here now and refresh this page, and hopefully everything is working fine now. So when we say Tom and we define the password for Tom, testing 321, and confirm the password, testing 321, and click on register. Now what do you notice? Now we have a new user, Tom, and our register page is working perfectly well. So with this, now we can go ahead and add a new item. So we can see something like this, a new product, whatever. Click on save tags, and what do you notice? He has that product. So we can log out from Tom and log into Destiny. We have different task, different logged in user. We can log back into Tom and say login now. We get Tom. Finally, we can click on register account. We come over here, or we click on login. It brings us back to the login. So as you can see, this functionality is like working really well. But there is something I want to tell you. I want to show you guys a logged in user. Now for example, this user is logged in. He can still access the register page. Do you notice that? And that's not supposed to be so. So how do we do that now? So all we have to do is just below here, we want to pass in, we want to define a get variable just like this. And it's not get underscore success URL, it's just get, and it's gonna take in self ax and keyword ax. So it's gonna take in self ax and finally keyword ax just like that. So the next thing we want to do is say if self. So just follow along what I'm doing. So I want to request for the user if self.request.user.is underscore authenticated just like this. So follow along with what I'm doing. Now what do I want to do? I want to return redirect. So before we import that, before we use that, we want to come over here and import it redirect. So I want to return redirect over here, and in here it's gonna take in tasks. So I want to redirect them back to the task page, and that's what we used here. So this is task, so that's why we are using it in here. So I want to return task just like this, and finally we are going to return super. So we are going to return super, and there's going to be a parentheses. This is going to take in register page, and it's still going to take in self just like what we did over here. And finally we're going to have dot get this time around. So we're going to say dot get, and we want to get ax and keyword ax. So we get ax and keyword ax. So with all this, now everything should be working totally fine. Let's come over here, refresh. We have Destiny. Now when we come over to /register, what do you notice? It brings us back to task. So it's not working again. And you remember before where a logged in user can access the register page, but right now as you can see it's no longer working. So we are in Tom, we want to say /register, and as you can see it's not working. So it's working perfectly fine. Now we want to go ahead and define the search feature. So after the search feature, then we'll go ahead and start styling. So the search bar, we're gonna build this functionality, and we need to add like, let's say 2 or 3 more tasks to Destiny. So or Tom, whoever you want to add it to. So over here there's rake leaves, let's say like get milk, whatever you want to pass in here, and let's say we want to define something else that's get, and we're gonna say get flowers. So we say get flowers, and whatever you want to pass in there, we say save. So as you can see, we have get milk, get flowers, and rake leaves. So right now we want to define a search bar. So in your task underscore list, and I want to go ahead and close up some things over here. So let's close this, close this. We want to close this one, close this one. Okay, so in your task underscore list, just above here, so I think it should be somewhere here. Yeah, that's where we should do it. So what we want to do, or should we just do it there? Okay, we could just do it there, not still bad. Okay, just below here we want to go ahead and make a form. So this form is going to have a method of get this time around, because we just want to get whatever the user passed in, and we want to have an input. So we're going to have two inputs. This first one, the type is going to be text, and the name is obviously going to be some, like, let's say search area, and we want to duplicate this. So this one, the type is gonna be submit, the name is gonna be, okay, I think we don't need a name for that, rather we should have a value, and the value is gonna be search task or something like that. So when we come over here now and refresh here, what do you notice? We have this search bar. So when we say something like get and click on get, as you can see, it takes it to the URL, so it's working perfectly fine. So in our views.py, let's go ahead and configure it. So in our views.py, in the task list, I think, yeah, let's do that in the task list. So before this return context, we want to go ahead and make the functionality. So firstly, we want to define the search underscore inputs, and search underscore input is going to be set to self. Just follow along with what I'm doing. Self.request.get. So there's going to be a uppercase get, then lowercase get. So what do I want to get? I want to get search area. So that's what I use as the name in our task list. Let's go ahead and confirm. So this is it over here, name search area. I can just copy that too and come over here and make sure that I'm actually getting it correct. So search area, just like that. Or I can leave an empty string. So if I'm searching nothing, it should just be empty like that. So the next thing I want to do is passing an if statement. So if there is anything in search input, what do I want to do? I want to check context, and over here there's going to be task, and just like what we've done before, there's still going to be context. So just follow along with what I'm doing. So I'm going to have task in here again. So this time around I want to filter, and so this is going to be different from the last one we did. This time I want to filter by let's say title underscore, just follow along, title underscore I contains, and this is going to be set equal to search input. So just like this. Then finally we're going to say context. So context search input, search underscore input, and this should be passed in a string, just like this. So search underscore input should be set to search input, just like this, and we want to make sure that we are returning this over here, or we could just still leave it over here, whatever. So the next thing we want to do is in our task list. So in our task list, I want to pass in search underscore input as a value. But before this, let's go ahead and test out what we have done. So we refresh this, it's working fine. If you say something like get, and as you can see, it shows only this. I want to go ahead and get rid of this, and let me show you what's going on. So you see, we have rake leaves, we have get milk, and get flowers. So if I say rake leaves and click on search, as you can see, it's perfectly working fine. So it gets rid of the get, and it's just showing us the rake. So if I say get, as you can see, it's showing us get milk, and the rake flower is gone. But how about I want to do something like, okay, well, how about I say flower? As you can see, it gets only flower. But if you want to search it like this, definitely okay. But what if we want to just search by the first letter over here? So we want to change this views.py. We want to change, where is it? We want to change this I contains to starts with, just like that, and it's going to be starts with. So when we refresh this now, let's get rid of all this in here, and we say flower. What do you notice? It gets nothing, because it's definitely going to start with the first letter get. So when we say get, it gets only that. When we say rake, it gets this. But how I want to start with leaves. So if you say leaves, As you can see, nothing gets passed in. So if you want to search like this, good. If you want to search with I contains, so I'm just gonna stick with I contains. So with this, when you refresh now and we get rid of this again, so when we say flowers, it gets everything that has to do with flowers in here. So that's pretty much it for this video, and hopefully you understand what we did over here. And if you did, do not forget to drop a like on this video and consider subscribing. And you don't want to miss the last part, because that's where we're going to be finalizing everything that has to do with styling HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap in this course. And I hope I will see you there. Mad love. Peace out.